Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. My name is Cecilia Whitehurst, and I'm a Book Sandwiched In Committee co-chair. On behalf of the BSI committee, I would like to welcome you to the June Book Sandwiched In, sponsored by the Friends of the Tulsa City-County Libraries. This special talk about what's new and great in children's literature by librarian Laura Raphael is the end of our spring lineup. We will be taking a short hiatus for the summer and will return August 11th to kick off our fall schedule with an evening talk at Heirloom Brewery. Kelly Brown of Magic City Books will discuss the blockbuster bestseller Fourth Wing and the general rise of romantasy. After that event, we will return to Martin Regional Library at 12:10 on the second Monday of the month. Our book for September will be James by Percival Everett. In October, we will discuss The Demon of Unrest by Eric Larson. And in November, we will hear about By Any Other Name by Jodi Picoult. I hope to see you there for all of these wonderful talks. I do want to share with you a few words about the Friends of the Libraries. Friends not only puts on BSI and the Travels with Tulsans programs, we also sponsor the Adult Creative Writing Contest each year and assist with promoting Great Decisions, a foreign and domestic policy study group with multiple groups throughout the city. So if you are not already a friend, we do have membership forms at the back. You can become a member for as little as $10, and your dues will help us continue to provide these great programs and activities. Thank you again for being here. Now I'm excited to introduce today's speaker. Laura Raphael has worked in public libraries for 24 years, most of those years in public services. Whether working as an adult services generalist at a large urban library, where she co-founded the nationally known Your Next Great Read Readers Advisory Service for adult readers, a children's librarian at a busy suburban branch, or since 2016, the Children's Services Coordinator for the Tulsa City-County Library. Her core goal has been supporting readers in reading. She has taught several online courses for ALA editions and has published a number of articles in Children in Libraries, Public Libraries, American Libraries, This Land Press, and Library Journal. And now, here to talk about books for caretakers is Laura Raphael.
Applauding for myself, but really it's because you said my name correctly. Yay. The last name, my husband's here. He's very happy about that. Thank you all, everybody, for being here. We appreciate it. It's a small group, but small but mighty, right? We're going to have a good time. So again, my name is Laura Raphael. I've been in libraries, Memphis and in Tulsa since 2001. Most of that time, 20 years at the Tulsa City-County Library. It's been a really rewarding, wonderful career. One thing that, and I've done a lot of different things, but one thing that really has connected all of the disparate parts of actually all of my careers, started as an English teacher, is that love of reading. And even more than that, that connecting people with books that they will love, that will enrich their lives of all ages. That's been a passion of mine. I love seeing Shirley Gidley here because you are such a reader's advisory expert and was somebody I looked up to, still do, greatly for a reader's advisory. So it's exciting to see you in the crowd. So reader's advisory is it is basically, it's connecting. Let's see if I can get to the next. There we go. So it's connecting readers with books. That's the easiest definition. And the person who is best known for readers advisory is actually from Tulsa. Nancy Pearl was a Tulsa City-County Library librarian for a number of years. And she's a national leader in readers advisory. So as she has written and spoken about extensively, readers have preferred doorways, different ways they like to walk into books, so different appeals. And those are some lovely funky doors here for you. But the doorways that she identifies are plot, so people who really like action, want things happening. Another doorway is character, if they really want to get to know the characters, have a depth and emotion. Setting, theme, and language. Shirley, do you remember working with Betty? She always said, give me 2 pages of describing a tree. Some people like the 2 pages of describing a tree. So, but that wasn't her doorway, right? That wasn't the way into the books that she liked. So you can be interested in a couple different doorways, but usually in readers advisory, there's one that's your primary that you go to again and again. And kids are no different as readers. Though they're of course less sophisticated, maybe don't know how to describe yet what they like, and we try in the library to help with that. I'll tell you about that in a minute. Unless they've been taught to. One, I think, really interesting test of reader's advisory and the doorways theory is to talk about Harry Potter. So Harry Potter, I read some readers, it's the setting, right? It's the magic. It's the castles and the weird, the wands and all of the different things. But listen, I can tell you, there are readers that read Harry Potter and magic is not what interests them. It's the characters. They're like, is Hermione mad at Harry? What? Why isn't she talking to him? What's going on? So you even in a book that looks like it's one kind of doorway, and it is for most readers, other readers will find what they like to step through. So Nancy Pearl's work has directly led to my work at the Tulsa City-County Library, including the, Cecilia mentioned, the Your Next Great Read service. Rebecca Howard and I, we co-founded that service way back in 2011, which is kind of amazing to think about, or co-created that. And if you don't know about it, who knows about it? Okay, yeah. If you don't, you can fill out a form online and you get a real human being to create a personalized reading guide for you, which is amazing, based on what you say, what you like, and your appeal, which doorways you like to go into. 3 to 5 authors, 8 to 10 books, and we'll tell you why we chose certain books and authors. So that came from the work with Reader's Advisory and Nancy Pearl. So Your Next Great Read for Teens came out a few years later than that, and then Your Next Great Read for Kids. Now, Your Next Great Read for Kids is a little different. We don't have an online survey. It's not a centralized service. It's at each location, each branch location. But kids still fill out a survey. It's a bookmark, and they get an actual reading packet with lists inside. And they also get an identity, a Kids Read reading identity. So there are 6 different reading identities. And on your handout, you'll see all 6 here. Adventure Time Reader, it's that fast-paced plot. Class Clown Reader is kind of self-explanatory, but very funny books. So kids that like humor is their big thing. A Connector Reader, if you like people and family and relationships, is very character-based. Curious Detective Readers are those who are curious about the world and want to learn about real things. Guild of Magic, Dragons and Swords. Magic, Dragons and Swords. That's a pretty easy one, but fantasy, where the setting is most important. And then finally, Serial Reader, kids who just love to read the same characters in the same situations. And trust me, there are adults, Thursday Murder Club readers, they're serial readers too. So I said, no surprises here. I'm going to talk. There's a lot of different ways I could have done this presentation, and I thought about different ways of doing it. But I'm going to go with authors for the most part, because usually these are authors with a pretty heavy backlog, so you can usually find books on the shelf, and I've got some over here. If you want to look at those, check those out. And these are my favorites. I mean, that's how I organized it. These are my favorites, my favorite authors. So I hope you'll find something for the child or the children in your life. But you may also find some books that you will love too. Some of these writers are writing at the same level as adult writers. I'll tell you the ones especially. In fact, I actually highly recommend that you read these books aloud with any children in your life. Reading aloud is one of the best ways to share the beauty and joy of literature. And reading research actually supports this. This is a really interesting study I read about very recently, where they had students, middle school students in the UK, and the teacher read 2 novels over 12 weeks, just read aloud. And she read it, and it was a higher reading level than what they could read independently. And she read at a normal pace and just stopped to make sure everybody was understanding what was going on, but read it, normally. 12 weeks, the reading comprehension rates based on tests went up 9 months progress. This is 12 weeks for an average. For poor readers, it went up 16 months. And that's just listening to a book. So reading aloud, listening to books on audiobooks or on Hoopla or Cloud Library, all our digital offerings, it's terrific. But I landed on sharing 9 authors, 1 Dewey Decimal Number, and read-alikes for a popular series called Dog Man. Who's heard of Dog Man? Yeah, it's pretty pervasive in our culture. Okay, let's start with Catherine Applegate. So I told you about your next great read for kids, which helps kids determine which kind of reader they are. Catherine Applegate could be classified. She's written books kind of in a lot of different categories, but honestly, the thing that ties all of her books is she's a connector. She is about characters. She's about emotions. She's about relationships. So even if she's got a kind of a science fiction series called Endling the Last, set in the future, and it's an animal that's the last of her species, and there's a lot, so there's futuristic kinds of things, but it's the characters that matter. It's the connector. She's probably most famous for The One and Only Ivan. She won the Newbery Award for that novel. And the Newbery, if you don't know, that's the award where there's a committee of librarians and they choose the best children's book of the year. So the Ivan is a gorilla in a circus shopping mall. And this is based on a true story. There used to be shopping malls where they had live animals and to try to get people to come to it. So, and this shopping mall is getting a little down and out, but Ivan doesn't know any better. And a new animal comes in, Ruby, an elephant, a baby elephant. And suddenly Ivan starts to realize maybe this isn't the greatest place for animals, particularly for Ruby. So even if he didn't realize it for himself, he knows that Ruby, who cares about, he has to do something. And so the plot of The One and Only Ivan is getting out of that shopping mall into nature preserve. There's a follow-up, The One and Only Bob. Bob is the dog. He's kind of the comic relief in The One and Only Ivan. He gets his own novel and his own journey. The One and Only Ruby, that elephant. This is actually a story about Ruby before she came to the shopping mall. And the latest and the one and only family. Ivan is in a nature preserve, meets the love of his life and has a family. So it's beautiful. Again, it's very character-based, it's emotional. You'll get very attached to these characters. Love The One and Only Ivan. I also need to mention, though, Dogtown and the follow-up, Mouse and His Dog. It's a book that Catherine Applegate wrote with Jennifer Choldenko. And these are humorous, but they're still connector. And it's set in a animal pound, and there are dogs there's a 3-legged dog trying to get adopted and a robot dog. So there's kind of some interesting things of futuristic. And Mouse and His Dog is a follow-up, and Mouse is one of the other characters. I will say, so Dogtown was selected by the children of Oklahoma for the best book of 2025. We had the Oklahoma Library Association has something called the Sequoia Awards. So all of the kids who participate had to read at least 3 books on the nominated list, and they chose Dogtown as their favorite book of the year. Zetta Elliott is our second writer. So another kids read, Reading Identity, that we use in the Your Next Great Read for kids service. We talked about it, Magic, Dragons, and Swords. And so Zetta Elliott, like Catherine Applegate, writes books that fall into several categories. But the series I want to highlight starts with Dragons in a Bag. And it is primarily, it has dragons. So it's going to go in Magic, Dragons, and Swords, and that futuristic, that magical underlying thing in our real world. I think that's a huge appeal of Magic, Dragons, and Swords, or fantasy books. It's like there's magic in our everyday world that maybe we don't know about, and we read these books and my friend, my mother's friend, is actually a witch. And that's what happens in Dragons in a Bag. So Jackson, he is left with his mother's friend because there's a subplot of being kicked out of their apartment in Brooklyn, and he discovers she's a witch, and she has a bag that needs to be delivered. And in the bag are dragons, but they need to be delivered to the magical realm. And so he is the one to do that with some different friends. It's highly entertaining read. There are a lot of obstacles, but that's fun because they overcome those, and it really opens up possibilities, I think, in a reader's mind about this magical world that could exist underneath our own. But what makes this series unique is the setting and the protagonist. So a lot of fantasy books, the main character is white, and they are in some realm, that's not urban. Well, what's different about this is Jackson, the main character, he's a Black child living in an urban setting in Brooklyn and New York. And so there's some different things with that. So magic exists everywhere. And I love that. It really opens up imaginative possibilities for readers. So Zetta Elliott followed up this popular book with the ongoing series of Jacks. With The Witch's Apprentice, he becomes the apprentice of the witch. The Dragon Thief, which involves returning a baby dragon who is gotten in the wrong place, and The Enchanted Bridge. Now, Zetta Elliott has also written this terrific book, Bird, and this is a realistic book. I didn't put it on the list, but it's worth reading too. Dealing with some difficult things in life. So that's more realistic. That's much more of a connector. But she has kind of gotten into the groove with more of the magical kinds of series. Okay. You guys can also stop and ask any questions. We're small enough, we could do that. Now, this is not an author, but it is a section of the library's collection. So Dewey Decimals, 00s, 100s, 200s are different subject areas. So this is nonfiction. The best section for juvenile nonfiction is the 590s. And that's where the animals live. Honestly, and there's been a renaissance actually in juvenile nonfiction in the last 10 years. There's so many great books in all of the sections, but the 590s are special because that's where the animals live. So a couple series that, I do want to mention also. So one of the things that also reading research has shown us is the more knowledge children have, the better their reading comprehension. Once they've gotten the decoding, once they've learned the phonics and all of that, check that off. But the next most important thing when they start to read, to learn, is having a wide base of knowledge. So juvenile nonfiction is a great place. And some kids, they just want to stay in that section. And that is fine. It helps them understand what they're reading later if they have a wide band of knowledge about lots of different things. Okay, so 2 different series. We're going to start with Who Would Win? J nonfiction. And this is the classic, who would win, Superman or Batman, if they fought. Except these are animals, right? Jaguar versus skunk. Ultimate Ocean Rumble, they're like 4 different ocean animals. Green ants versus army ants. Now, this might seem like, ooh, that's pretty violent. Maybe I don't want. Yes. But while they're setting up these imaginative scenarios in which they would fight, which they often wouldn't, the kids are learning about the animals. They're learning about their habitats. They're learning about what they like to eat. They're learning about, actually they wouldn't fight at all. Some animals, that's not part of their instincts. But those are ones kids love these. If you're not comfortable with that, another series that's similar is Who's Cuter? Baby fox or baby wolf, baby cat. And again, they're learning about these animals, but it's a fun way to learn about animals. Jason Reynolds, man, Jason Reynolds can do it all. I'm telling you, he's amazing. He's one of my favorite authors, period, not just I read mostly adult fiction, mostly literary fiction, but Jason Reynolds, I would read any Jason Reynolds any day of the week over almost anybody else. So the 3 books I'm highlighting, we're going to call them Adventure Time. That's one of the reading identities. Or really, he's just a connector. I really love connector. But he does, plot is important to his novels. What else did I want to say? So there's almost no other writer who can make me cry and laugh in the same pages. We were talking about Charles Dickens. He can do that. Jason Reynolds is the other one that can do that. And his characters are so well drawn. They're such like real kids. They're not either too sassy or too perfect. They're a good mix of what real people and real kids are like. And they make for amazing read alouds. We were talking about reading aloud, how important. Excellent read alouds. They're designed to be heard. So a couple of his novels, Stunt Boy in the Meantime, as a young boy who is a secret superhero. Kids love that because every kid thinks, maybe I'm a secret superhero. Maybe I'm going to go in the back of that closet and maybe I'll get to Narnia, right? There's always that feeling you get a magic underneath our world. He's a secret superhero with problems. His parents are also superheroes, but they're not getting along well. So there's that connector part. But adventures, things go on. He does help people, and he has friends, and they go through adventures. Look Both Ways. It's what is it? A Tale Told in 10 Blocks. This is such a fun book. It's kind of a puzzle book. He likes to do this. He's got another one called it's a One Way Down, I think, and it's a kid going down an elevator as he's trying to decide if he wants to take revenge on a person who killed his brother. And that's the whole novel. It's brilliant. Long Way Down. That's what it's called, Long Way Down. So this one, it's a little, that's for young adults. That's for older kids. This is more for middle grades readers, and it's 10 blocks from the school and what happens on each block after school is out. So again, those chapters could just be read individually as stories. They're terrific stories, but then he brings it all together at the end. But my favorite is As Brave as You. It's a summer story, 2 brothers going to live with their grandparents for the summer. And they get into lots of hijinks. Their parents named after the Jackson 5 singers. So there's also humor. They have to clean up chicken poop. They have to do different chores for their grandparents. But it's a beautiful coming of age story where the main character is learning how to deal with disappointment. And this is kind of a theme in Jason Reynolds' parents not getting along. That's why they're sent there to the summer. As Brave as You is probably one of my favorite novels in the last 20 years. Not probably, it is. It's terrific. It's not as well known as some of his others, but very well worth checking out. All right, Peter Brown. How many of you saw or know about the Wild Robot movie? Yeah. So that came out. So it's a whole series, The Wild Robot Escapes, Wild Robot Protects. I thought it was a good movie. It was a little busy for me. The visuals were a little overwhelming, but I'm not a kid. I liked the book better. I'm sorry, that's true. It's such a librarian thing to say. I liked the book better, but it was better because your imagination was the one creating instead of the assault of the images. Sorry. So I would say he's also an Adventure Time and connector. So Roz the robot is abandoned on an island, but it's a robot, and it's a robot designed to help people. And so she keeps trying to help the rock that she sees first, and then this bird, and then this, and it's all nature. There's no technology. So it's a beautiful story actually about found family, because Roz ends up taking care of a young hatchling that doesn't have parents, it's an orphan, and adventures. They go on adventures. I think there's a lot of thematic stuff about technology and about humanity. And I don't know all the AI stuff. I don't know. AI has a personality. It's a little scary. This one comforts you a little bit, but maybe AI is not going to ruin everything. I don't know. He also writes and illustrates picture books. So Peter Brown is an incredible talent, and his picture books also have a real depth and a real feeling too. So from that to somebody who's hilarious. Nancy Krulik is, I think, kind of an undersung hero of humorous books for kids. The Great Math Chicken. I mean, you just have that title and it's like, I'm done. But it's so the chicken is a fish out of water or a chicken in a school. This chicken ends up going to school, learns math, solves problems with math. And there's a whole series with the Great Math Chicken. Kids love it. It's just, yeah. Project Droid, young boy, his mother brings a cousin who's a robot, another fish out of water story, learning why do we do the things we do? Why do we get on that bus? What is that even, So a lot of Amelia Bedelia kinds of misunderstandings and fun things. George Brown, Class Clown. You can see here he's burping. George Brown discovers that he is related to a king of a little known country, but he's still a class clown. He's still goofy. Yeah, lots of fun with that. Magic Bone series is a fun one. And I want to say Nancy Krulik's also a serial reader. You find one book, you want to read all of them. Magic Bone, a dog finds a magic bone that makes him travel to Paris and then Egypt, and just by chewing on the bone. Do you imagine the possibilities with that? Very funny. Kids love that, especially when they discover it. Oh, even more. Sorry, Mrs. Frogbottoms. Do not forget, do not sleep on Miss Frogbottoms. I didn't put that on the list, but the field trips and Katie Kazoo Switcheroo, Princess Pulverizer. I found Princess Pulverizer, so I've got a few of those there. But just humorous, fun, kids in different situations. Kids are chickens or dogs in different situations. And really good for beginning readers, and one that you can read to a child and then they can read to themselves later. That's because they're short enough that you can do that. And there's also the trick, of course, of reading a page and then having the child read the same page too. So that gives a sense of comfort. They've heard the words, even if they're good at decoding or just learn decoding, it does help with the fluency, hearing it first. Varian Johnson, I only have one book. Varian Johnson has written more than one book, but most of his books are young adults, so teenagers. But the one that I'm sorry, I cannot stop talking about is The Parker Inheritance. It is a mystery book. It is like The Westing Game, which is kind of the classic children's mystery book and different puzzles from like 40 years ago, where they're trying to figure out a mystery. In this case, it's a young girl it's a summer book again, which is kind of fun. And her late grandmother has said, there is buried treasure somewhere here in town. And she tried all her life to find it out, wasn't able to figure it out. So she's giving this mystery to her granddaughter. Spoiler alert, they find it. But it also, what makes this unusual, so it's set in a small town in South Carolina. So her and the girl and her grandmother are Black. And so there's a lot of history in it too. And what is so interesting, what happens with a lot of children's books, as publishers and writers have tried to make our books more diverse, to represent more backgrounds of people reading, not just the same kinds of characters, the same places. Sometimes those books, it's all trauma and it's tragedy, and it's important. It's important when there's a book called Stella by Starlight, and now Sharon Draper, thank you. And it's set in 1930s and KKK and a family, and it's hard, but it's important, and it's so well written, and it's but you come out of it like, so so sometimes you need something more, you need some more joy. This is unusual because it does touch on segregation and some of the difficulties of what Black families had to deal with in this case in the 40s and 50s. But it's not the only point. It's not the main thing. So that's, I think, what makes this, and it's the mysteries are so good, like the little clues and different things. I didn't get it. I'm an adult and I didn't get it, but that's fine. It's okay. We don't have to. I do want to mention, so the kids read reading identities. So we have 6 right now. We are working on 3 more, and one is mystery, and we're going to call that one Whodunit. We have one that's more science fiction, and it's laser spaceships and aliens. And then a third one, more kids really like scary books. So that one's going to be called Creepy Crawlies. So that's to come. We don't have that yet, but we will. But that one would definitely, but right now I have an Adventure Time connector, but that would definitely be a mystery one. Grace Lynn is our next writer, and with a full list of books, a back catalog of books. She is a writer and illustrator. So she does picture books as well. And actually she came to fame mostly as a picture book illustrator, and then started writing chapter books too. Where the Mountain Meets the Moon, there's a dragon that cannot fly. That's always an interesting thing. There's a young girl who is trying to save her town, and the dragon who cannot fly is important to help her. And then there's a couple other characters. So here's the really interesting thing. Once you know this secret, if you read a Grace Lynn novel, she has said she bases all of her novels on basically on the Wizard of Oz. So even though they're dragons and there's Chinese mythology and all kinds of interesting things, it's really just a bunch of friends going on a quest, right? They're just having to deal with obstacles, trying to get to what they think they want. Just like the Wizard of Oz, what they think they want is not what they need. So the continuing series, Starry River of the Sky, When the Sea Turned to Silver. Her latest is The Gate, the Girl, and the Dragon. I have not read this one yet, but I'm looking forward to it. And what a great cover. So Stone Spirit G is stuck in the people's world, but with the help of his new friends, Lulu and Worm, they're going on an adventure. He hopes to find a way back home to the old city gate before it disappears forever. So that kind of. She is definitely about learning and growing, even though this is Magic, Dragons, and Swords. She's also a connector. She just is about characters and feelings and trying to figure out this world, whatever world that is. Now, so she's very much about learning and growing. All right. Stuart Gibbs asks the question, what if you were actually somebody else? What if you were a young 12-year-old and the CIA decided that you were good enough to be a spy? So spy school, spy camp, they're graphic novels. This is it's kind of exploded in lots of different ones. Spy school is the very first one where our main character, Ben Ripley, knows he wants to be in the CIA, but he's really clumsy and not the sharpest tool in the shed, but they still see something in him. I think that's something maybe just every person, but especially kids, are like, I am a long lost son of a king. I have magical powers I didn't know about. I could be a spy. Somebody said that in me. So the spy school and spy camp, those are fun, a lot of action, and really helps kids kind of see themselves in fun, different. So Adventure Time. There's also a series, Once Upon a Tim. Tim is a peasant in the medieval times, but he has a lot of pluck, and he hopes to improve his station in life. So he volunteers to help a prince and a wizard try to rescue a princess. That's kind of beside the point. It's a lot of fun, and it introduces kids to some medieval history too. The follow-up is The Quest of Danger. So Stuart Gibbs, that's one, and you'll see a lot of times a pretty hefty number of his books. Sometimes not, because they'll checked out, but you can put things on hold. All right. And I don't know, Jason Reynolds, my favorite. Probably my second favorite is Erin Entrada Kelly. She has won the Newbery twice, most recently this year, for the first state of being. Her first one is the first one she won the Newbery Award. It's not her first novel. She's probably written 20 for kids and tween readers. Hello Universe was the first one that won the Newbery. And it's kids pull a prank on a kid who ends up at the bottom of a well. And his friends have to save him, have to find out. One, have to discover that he's there, and two, save him. You go first. Scrabble is an important part. Characters playing Scrabble together and going on adventures. So listen, you know you're old when your childhood and just your regular adulthood is now historical fiction. So We Dream of Space is set in 1986. The First State of Being is set in 1999, and they're historical. When I discovered that, I was like, oh yeah, that's, you know, for a child who was born in 2010, well, 2015 even, right? That is ancient history. We Dream of Space is a classroom watching the Challenger take off and the tragedy that happens with that, but all of the things that go on before that, the excitement of seeing a teacher in space, kind of sad, but they are awaiting that launch and have different responses to what happens. The First State of Being, it says 1999. So there's a little bit of fantasy science fiction. There's a character from 2299 or 2199 who travels back to 1999, his favorite time in history, and meets with a kid who is very worried about the millennium, about, you know, Y2K. If those of us who were around, we remember it was a whole thing. It was on the news every night. You know, are we going to have power on January 1st, 2000? So what's interesting is, of course, the kid from 2199 knows what happens and that it was a big, you know, right? Thank gosh. But the kid in 1999 does not know. And he doesn't want to know because he doesn't want to mess up the time space continuum. We all watch Star Trek. You can't do that. So there's a lot of conflict with that, but a beautifully written. She really, she knows how to write a sentence. So I say some of these authors, some of these books are equivalent for me anyway, as a reader of literary fiction for adults. All right. Now, Dogman. Okay. So the library system has ordered, they put aside, and every year they do this, they put aside money to get extra books of the most popular books for kids. Dogman is the most popular book that children check out from Tulsa City-County Library. And that's been true for 5 years, 3 years, something like that. Very, 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 very popular. And we can buy $200,000 of Dogman books and there won't be a Dogman book on the shelf. Right, Sarah? So sorry. So what you do is just like, well, let me tell you about a book that is just like Dogman, except totally different. Right? But there are some really great books where there's a main character, is usually an animal character, but anthropomorphous, how do you say it? Anthropomorphous, thank you. I sound ignorant. I'm not. I know how to read that, just not out loud. So it's that, and humor is part of it. And sometimes it's a graphic novel, or it's a novel and then becomes a graphic novel. So that's what kids are really responding to, is that humor, that adventure, the interesting characters. So here are some read-alikes. And this is if you find a June issue of Tulsa Kids Magazine, I did an article on these books on there. So Julius Zebra, Rumble with the Romans, is a zebra who finds himself in a coliseum with the Romans trying to fight against the swashbucklers there. Max Meow, Cat Crusader. You could not get a more Dogman read-alike. Instead of a dog, it's a cat. Instead of a policeman, he's still fighting crime. Oh, Lunch Lady. Lunch Lady is so much fun. And that's a graphic novel. It skews a little older. You might not want your 7-year-old reading this. I don't know, maybe. Fine Crime Fighting Lunch Lady. The second volume, The Evil People Are Librarians. This guy cracks me up. It's like the writer, like, really, Jared Kozlowski, do you like librarians? Fun. It's fun. Hilo, The Boy Who Crashed to Earth. There are a lot of fish out of water stories. So this is an actual alien. So a lot of fun adventures with Hilo. Real Pigeons Fight Crime. Did you know pigeons actually are crime fighters? Yeah. And this just pulls the blanket off of that. Yeah. That's a fun. Those are fun ones to take the place of Dogman when inevitably there are no Dogmen to be found, or they get to the end of the series. Get to the end of the series, start at the beginning again, but if they want something different in their reading diet. I did want to talk about library resources and finding more authors and books for kids and yourself. And if you know about the Novelist database, with the library, that's a terrific database that gives you read-alikes for books that you like or authors that you like. Our website, when you search in the catalog, there are also lists. It's called Bibliocommons List. So when you search, instead of like searching a title or a keyword, you can drop down menu and go to list and type in some terms. So if you're like, I'm really interested in 19th century novels set on a boat, and somewhere in the world, because Bibliocommons is shared amongst a lot of library systems across the country and the Canada generally. So somebody somewhere has created a list, so you can find some good ones that way. Wowbrary is a service that you can sign up for to get an email every week, or it's on the website, what we've ordered that week. That's a great place to just be like, oh, that looks interesting. I'll put that on hold. You won't get it right away because it's just been ordered. So generally it takes a little while before we get it in and can process and all of that. Do not sleep on displays. Our librarians spend a lot of time and effort making beautiful displays and finding the best books that they think people will like. And even if it's behind glass, you can still ask for another copy to be put on hold for you. Generally, though, I know, Sarah, you guys do this. They just have dummy covers. If you need it, if you really want it, they will take it out of the case for you. I talked about Your Next Great Read for Kids. So not all of our libraries are doing it that in the summer, but you can ask about it. It's you filling out a bookmark. It helps a kid. We will tell you what kids' reading identity you are, and put together a folder with different lists based on both your reading identity and some subject area interests. So if you're a class clown reader who loves elephants, here is a list of 10 books that are funny and have elephants in it. And of course, your friendly librarians. We love talking about books. We love sharing books. We love sharing what we're reading. We love listening and hearing about the books that you like. So those are some great ways to find new books. And two others I didn't put on here, but many of these authors were in one of two places and connections with Tulsa City-County Library. One, we have the Zero Award, the Ann V. Zero Award for Young Readers Literature. We give that award every year for lifetime achievement for different authors. Jason Reynolds, Kathleen Applegate are both Zero Award winners. The other is Books to Treasure. That's a program for second graders, picture books, but some of those authors, like Grace Lynn, like Peter Brown, are both illustrators and writers of kids of other chapter books and different things. So those are also, if you look at awards lists, but we've got those two, the Zero Award and the Books to Treasure. You find them on our website. Those are also good avenues to find new books and new authors. I believe I might have gone over. I'm so sorry. Any questions or anything else you want? Yeah, Ross.
Just real quickly.
Yeah.
I work with the literacy department. One of the things that we have found so cool is when somebody's learning to read, and there's a new language for them, or they are finally learning to read. If they have children at home, to find books on the level that they can read to their children, that gives them an incredible sense of accomplishment to do that. And I think you've been in on some of that possibly.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly know about it. There's a program called Mother Read that we did in Memphis that was fabulous. Yeah.
So when I'm listening to this, I'm thinking, what books could some of our adult learners
Yes.
take out from the children's
Yes.
department, read to their children? Well, gosh, there's so many things they could just read it to themselves.
It's true. Or in some part of it is like practicing that before they read to their children. So it helps their own fluency, but that sense of accomplishment that, yeah, if you're a new English language learner, or if you haven't learned how to read, that's kind of a difficult thing to admit. It feels very vulnerable. So it does give back some power. It empowers them to do that.
They get to actually finish a book.
Yes.
Which is huge and encourages them.
Yeah. And there's some beautiful picture books that are perfect for that in one sitting. So it feels, yeah, depending on the age of the child. But even I taught middle school. I would read some picture books to them because there's some deep themes in some picture books. And you can really dig into that. Yeah. So generally it's for school age children, so kindergarten to 5th grade. So your next great read for teens is for ages 10 to 16. So there's a little bit of an overlap. It just kind of depends. But the difference is with for kids, they get a physical reading packet. The teens and the adults, you get a digital personalized reading guide. So it's not, there's something, yeah, developmentally could do more with. I like it better too. Yeah. Yeah. Ooh. Yeah, I mean, honestly, pretty much all of these authors also have beginning reader. I would say Catherine Applegate, her Roscoe Riley series is a terrific one. Yeah, there's so many. Sarah, can you think of one off the top of your head that would be? Sarah is our children's librarian and children's area supervisor. Yep. Oh, Atanuki, yeah. Yeah. Baby Goes to Market. That's right. That is when you're, yeah. Yeah, and you learn about a different culture also because it's not a supermarket, it's a market. It's an outdoor market. Yeah. Yeah.
I know it's not accurate, but there's a lot of those. There's also our pool, which is about a city pool, like in a really big city, for the day.
And you're reminding me of the hot. So there's a great series, beginning reader series with Fox, and who is you know what I'm talking about? Just, yeah. So listen, here's another like award winning. There's an award called the Theodore Geisel Award, Dr. Seuss, and so it says beginning readers, and that guy has won it every year for, the Fox series, and I'm blanking. Actually, I can find it. You're gonna find it. but that's Sergio Venzio is another one. But if you, that's a good one to if you find that, those are. But the Fox ones are so good. Well, thank you guys. I really appreciate you coming on a very hot June day, and I hope this has been helpful. There's so many great children's books. Honestly, you really could just pull almost anything off the shelf and find something terrific. But